Hi, this is Robert Clinky-Beard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders and business owners to provide you with some value to scale your business and to become a better leader and push yourself out of your comfort zone. We encourage you to like and share with everyone to spread our messages. I'm super excited to announce our new partnership with Weathermatic. For most landscape companies, irrigation is an untapped gold mine for growth and profit, but labor and process problems stand in the way. So Weathermatic has created a partnership to package mobile technology and software with proven business solutions to tackle the perennial irrigation challenges and take your operations to a whole new level. I encourage you to reach out to Weathermatic and learn more. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clinky-Beard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I'm really excited today to be joined all the way from Hawaii. We've got Christian and Malu. So thank you for joining me, guys.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Christian, when we talked, I think it was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, you called me and asked me a couple of questions and you told me about some of the stuff you were doing. I thought, this would be amazing to have you two as guests on my show. So maybe each of you could just tell me, a minute or two about your background, and then we can just jump into some questions. Christian, do you want to go? You want to go first?
Absolutely. So my full name is Christian de Quevedo. I live in Hawaii on Oahu. I have a Juris Doctorate and an MBA, so I'm not exactly what you would call a traditional landscaper. My business background, my law background, all starts with corporate startup, spinoff, and structuring. So I've been involved in the entrepreneurial side for a while now. I've helped several of my friends start up their own businesses, kind of get everything all set and protecting themselves, protecting their clients.
How's it, everybody? My name is Kaimalu Stanich. I'm originally from Maui, one of the smaller islands in Hawaii. But my background is mostly in landscape architecture. I have a master's in landscape architecture from the University of Hawaii and a passion for, regenerative, maybe more sustainable landscaping practices in general. So pleasure to be here. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you both for joining the show. So tell me about, your business, how you got started in the business. It's always good to, connect the dots. I have a lot of people who are either up and coming businesses or just about to jump into it, or maybe they've been in business for 30, 40 years and they're still trying to find their feet. So,
well, this business started like most businesses out of anger. We I had a friend who used to say that if something really pisses you off, chances are there's a really good business opportunity there.
absolutely.
And the case widely across the board. We were kind of tired with the service that was being provided out here, the noise levels that came with it, especially. And, everybody has a landscaper and 70% of people hate their landscaper. And so it's just this very weird niche that really hasn't been addressed. And when Malu and I met, we seemed very much on the same board. We actually met at a friend's dinner party.
Cool.
And I'd kind of been working on this idea for a while. And then Malu and I started talking. And then it turns out he had also been working on a similar idea for a while. So we bonded over dinner, started talking. I think it was 2 weeks later, we're in the field together, cutting lawns and our company is one that it prioritizes the environment above all else. Our company is all electric, which means that all of our tools are commercial grade electric tools powered through lithium ion. That lithium ion is charged off an independent solar facility, which means that our services are net zero. We create no carbon emissions, no particulate emissions through utilizing the service that we provide. So people, everyone's read the studies about the gas lawn blowers. They're loud, they're horrible for the environment, and everybody hates them across the board, whether you're the user or, the person 2 blocks away, you can hear it. And we've kind of reached this turning point in history where electricity is starting to become more of a driver than the typical combustion engine. It's called an ICE engine. And so what we've been able to do is kind of stay ahead of the curve and sort of become the curve in a sense. We're the only people doing what we're doing right now. That applies across the entirety of boards. So I'm going to let Malu take over from here to talk about his design practice, because personally, I find that to be the most impressive part of our entire business. But
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
try and stay ahead of the curve no matter what it is.
I
Sure.
love that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we have a strong vision, and I think Christian put it perfectly, environmental above all else. It kind of distills out into our landscape maintenance side through the way that we approach our tools, as Christian has laid out, but also through the way we approach maybe more chemicals applications. So we try to use maybe less harmful, more sustainable practices. We leverage ecological principles, playing with population, competition, those kinds of things, in order to lessen the impact of maybe the pesticides and the herbicides we have to use, as well as decreasing the amount of fertilizer and input into the system. So those are the kinds of large scale approaches that we take to landscape maintenance, but it also kind of filters out into landscape design. And for us, it's primarily about utilizing the cutting edge tools, the most high tech things we can get our hands on, and applying them in a sustainable and ecologically minded way. If we want, we can get into a little bit more of what that means for design, but I think that kind of captures our vision.
Absolutely fascinating. Just, I mean, I'm sure probably a few listeners are, interested in size of company, commercial properties, residential. Give us a little bit of context, how your company's structured.
Yeah, so our company is mixed across the board. So we have commercial properties and we have residential. As we've kind of figured out more of our practices, more of our company ethos, and sort of built out the structural support that we require at a corporate level, we've been heading more commercial because, as everybody knows, the margins are wider. It's much easier kind of dealing with only one decision maker, and there isn't as much back and forth as you normally get with like a residential client. However, this company was started with $5,000 2 years ago. Malu and we've pulled $0 from this company, which means that every dollar we make cycles right back into the company. It helps us make that next step, that next gain. Basically, what we've been doing is we've just been preparing to be able to go into commercial and have the equipment, the training, the crew to do that. Our crew size, I would say, is about 12 people now. We have a nursery out in Hawaii Kai, and we have people that even volunteer their time to help us out at the nursery. We have a micropropagationist we just started working with, who is working with, like, we're talking the rarest endangered plants in the world. Like she's working currently with, I think it's a pink Tahitian banana. There are only 2 of them in the entire world.
Wow.
So we've been able to build a lot off of community support. We've got our nursery, and we just got our new base yard. We've paid $0 for real estate. But utilizing our community connections, utilizing people's interest in what we're doing, we have the opportunity to make these advances that a company coming from a normal corporate standpoint wouldn't be able to do. No one's going to give Brightview free real estate because, they're set, they're structured, they're here. Whereas we, coming from more of the underdog position, you can get a lot of community support out to people around you who just want to help, who just want to see you succeed. So Malu and I have been very fortunate to benefit off that goodwill, and the community just kind of feeds all the way back around.
So I love that. And I'm sure, there's a lot of interested companies in your services. And I mean, what does that, that selling proposition look like when you're going out to a commercial client or maybe a past residential client? What does that messaging look like?
So we generally come at it from a couple different main pain points. First of all, noise. That's an easy one. Our equipment makes almost 0 noise. You'll never be able to tell that we're there, especially with like the commercial buildings, which are a little bit better insulated. So there's 0 disruption to tenants, to guests, to people who are paying good money to be there in that moment. Doctors' offices have frequently requested our services quite a bit. People who, care about the environment. We are net zero service, and we don't use any of the harmful pesticides and herbicides that other companies do. So when you hire us, you have a complete assurance that your environment is staying exactly the same as when, the day we take over, we're going to leave no trace. It's only going to get better from there. So people who have high concerns about, the health of themselves, their family members, their pets, that's always a big one. People who really enjoy communication. We communicate very well. And, we are a little bit more on the hand-holding side of things, where if you want something, we're going to hold your hand. We're going to make sure that you get it. And if we can't provide it to you for free, we're going to kind of walk you through just kind of the steps that we need to make to make it happen. So we're more on the side of making sure clients get everything they want. And that's kind of a very different approach than what you normally find in the landscaping industry out here right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. And not just out there, but a lot of other places. It's obviously really impressive what you've done so far. What does it look like for your company in the next, 5-10 years? I mean, you talked to me originally about, scaling up. Talk to me a little bit more about what that looks like.
Oh, you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, we really are drawn to the maintenance side. I think getting in the commercial sector is definitely part of that scale up. But we do value a lot of our residential customers, mostly because you have that more intimate relationship, and they have a more intimate relationship with their landscape. It allows us to kind of play with these ideas of environmental consciousness and those kinds of things, and change people's minds in that era and in that sense. But as we scale up, obviously we're running up against some of the classic pain points of labor and capital, all of that being as it is. But we've really tried to pivot more towards automation, or having tools that help us along the way, maybe lift the burden of these more menial tasks in the landscape, and allow our workers to kind of focus on the more specifics, the more maybe intellectually more interesting for them parts of the job.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
We've worked a lot towards helping to educate our employees, and it's not so much about just giving them a job, but keeping them interested. We, in terms of employees, skew younger. So you're generally talking college graduate or in college, somebody who's coming from a little bit of a higher educational base, but just really enjoys being outdoors. So part of keeping an employee like that, who is well educated, who does the job, understands like what they're looking at and how they need to do it. It's not just about the money. Like, you need to keep them involved. It's almost like playing with an octopus. Like, you have to keep coming up with new puzzles and putting it in front of them, watching them play with it. And it's those employees that are going to help us scale up to the next level, where we're not just doing landscaping anymore. We envision a full home services firm. We want to be able to provide to you a variety of different services, those monthly expenses that homeowners have, where it's, if they trust in your brand, if they trust in your work on one thing, when you expand into that other level, into that the next field, chances are those employees or those customers are going to follow you over there. Because at the end of the day, everybody just wants to book a service, have it get done, and then just kind of, people want to be as lazy as possible. So they just want to know that what they paid for got done. That's it. And if you can kind of provide that quality assurance, that knowledge that when they book with you, it's going to happen, then the world is your oyster.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of scaling up, I mean, do you see, if the conditions were right, and obviously money and resources were behind you, I mean, do you see yourself coming across to the mainland and, becoming a regional or national player with what you've developed so far?
I mean, it would be selfish to keep a good idea to itself. So no, I mean, here's the great thing is there are already small companies like ourselves out in California, Washington, Georgia, Florida, all across the United States, who are doing similar things to what we're doing. When I was working for Tesla back in 2016, I believe, the company ethos the mission statement was accelerate the usage of electric cars throughout the world, not Teslas, but electric cars. And so you have these firms, Tesla's obviously changed a little bit since then. But we were proud to work for a company that was trying to change the world, regardless of the survivability of the company or not, just trying to get the world to electric cars. And so if we, through franchising, competition, capitalism, can help to bring what we're trying to do to the United States as a whole faster, we are more than happy to participate in that future, whatever it may look like.
I love that. I love that. You reminded me one of the big reasons why I wanted to get you on the show, because when you talked about trying to attract that younger demographics, 25 or maybe even younger into your company, it's interesting because many other companies are trying to avoid hiring them because, I'll stop there. There's different reasons.
Well,
But there's obviously a reason why, we talked about AI, use of technology, like automation. I'd love to just hear, because that's obviously something that they're attracted and they're, get inspired by. So I'd love to just hear a little bit more about some of the things you guys are doing.
Yeah, Malu, please.
Sure. Yeah. I think, the movement in terms of automowers nowadays, the technology in that sector has really exploded, and we've definitely been in talks with some of the players to get those types of technologies out in the field with us. And it's a massive step in the direction of robots, and some people are a little hesitant to go in that direction, but I think, at least for us, we see it as in service of the work that we do, not to replace humans, but to make the jobs that remain more fulfilling, more interesting, to kind of automate away the menial tasks, and again, like, let us focus on the things that we're interested in, that a little bit more complex. And I think that fits well in terms of the business model that we have, because we don't have the one size fits all, just spray the chemical and leave it. It takes a little bit more effort in terms of intellectually to kind of get that going. But we also incorporate technology in other sectors. Obviously, the chat bots are kind of exploding as well. So us on the back end, having to, it's just me and Christian out there most of the time. We're the admin, the secretary, the salesman, and the guy cutting the grass,
Right.
So lifting the burden on that end is also really important. And having these tools that connect, with when people reach out to us, schedule a consultation, having that automated system that puts it into all of our books, sets up an account for them, and all the back end. It's been really helpful. Yeah, and again, not to mention the design side itself, which is a whole nother can of worms. I'll just say that, from my perspective, in terms of landscape architecture, we seem to get stuck in these ways of doing things that may not be the most efficient. And it's been really refreshing working with Christian and with his company, that we can kind of break out of those modes and start thinking of new ways to do things.
No, I love that. Christian, anything to add there?
I mean, yeah, quick shout out to Gabe Fu over at Your Smart Robot. So we've been working with Gabe to bring these hyper advanced automowers. They're being built in California right now out to Hawaii. And we're kind of on that frontier end where technology is starting to really, really increase just in a very unique way. And for the first time in our lives, I think we're kind of on the back foot. There's so much to learn, and there's so much applicability, and it can all feed into itself. It's been a lot of fun being able to sort of, hold on to the rocket as it's taken off and trying to figure out, hey, this is that new thing. This is how can we work with this? And Malu and I would show you our whiteboard, but you guys might have this institutionalized. It's crazy person scribbling all over it. And we get to do these really incredible, brainstorming sessions where it's like, okay, like, so like most recently we bought a drone from Autel Robotics, and this drone has the ability to do LiDAR scans. And so we figured out that when we're doing a design consultation, boom, we activate the drone takes off. It does a series of 360 sweeping photos. Malu then uploads it into this program, which gives us a fully rendered 3D model right off the bat of what we need to do. So, immediately 15 hours, 20 hours of cut time. This small little drone, very easy to use, very easy to do, has cut down 20 hours work per client. And so it's just figuring out like these little things that all the tools are kind of out there. You just got to bring them together The GPT, it helps us with all of our communications, even idea and development. We work with Nate Hogston over at Kaimuki Compost, a very innovative composting company. And, he's a part of our community. It's called a hui. It's like a group of people brought together. And so we have our arborist, we have our composter, we have our irrigation guy, all small independent businesses, but we all work together as a single group because it benefits everybody the most. We all generate referrals for each other. We've all made each other quite a bit of money. And nothing has been given, everything has been taken, which is great because everybody's benefiting. But so we're working with Nate Hogston, who is trying to get composting into luxury events. He's trying to, if you're at a wedding, he wants you to be able to compost your food there because there's enormous amounts of food waste that happen at these types of events. And he couldn't think of an idea on how to design this. Like, what would that even look like? Like, what does the bin look like? And so we pulled up our GPT. We have the premium version. We inputted luxury composting bin at wedding. And like that, it generated 6 visual ideas. It generated 6 photos of what it thought these composting bins should look like. And using design aspects from each of those photos, he's currently developing his first prototype right now. This thing has the ability to kind of get the creative juices going. Even on my side, the legal side, I can input, hey, I need an NDA, and I'll spit it out in about 2 seconds. I go through it, I double check everything, and that's an hour and a half, 2 hours of work just gone.
Yeah.
So we're having fun figuring out how all this works together, and
that's super cool.
There to figure it out too, because there's so much to get done.
Not enough hours in the day. I mean, even your idea around the design piece. I mean, I've been to so many companies, and one of the biggest obstacles for them scaling is having designers.
Mm.
And we've talked about, well, could we have a designer or estimator, remotely? But the pushback has been, well, we don't necessarily know what's going on with the contours and where the building lines are. Mm-hmm. So we really need somebody local. So, what you just said there would probably overcome probably 90% of the obstacle.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we try and push having everything in 3D. It's a little bit different in terms of the design side, especially with working with people who have been trained in that kind of, everything needs a plan, right? Whereas we work mostly in 3D, and it's actually been really interesting when we connect it to the installation side, because instead of having a 2D plan that you reference and you have to kind of go back and forth between the actual landscape, we can connect that 3D model to the actual 3D reality that we see. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of take a little less skilled labor, and it'll show them in 3D where everything needs to be, what size it needs to be. Basically this kind of augmented reality installation. So it's been really exciting in that era too. And it kind of, like, as Christian said, it all builds upon each other.
No, I love that. And I'm sure the clients probably appreciate, seeing it in 3D as well. It's probably easier for them to relate to rather than just looking on down on a plan. So
yeah, one of our first test projects was actually, the house I'm in right now. And we scanned the house using the drone, and Malu was able to actually project. I've got a large table behind me, a large dining table, and Malu was able to project my house in a 3D model in real time onto the table, so that I was holding a phone, and as I walked around, it would change this perspective. And on demand, he could change things about the model that I wanted. So we're about to enter into a new phase of being able to design not for the client, but with the client, having them stand there and in real time change things that they want to see. The technology is just incredible, and Malu's usage of it has just, I feel like you've only just scraped the surface, but already we are light years ahead of what everybody else is doing.
That's awesome. Well, I know we're wrapping up on time here, guys. I can't believe how quickly it's gone here. I could easily spend another hour with you, but maybe I'd love to maybe get you guys back on again and maybe even dive a little bit deeper and But I mean, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And congratulations on what you're doing so far. I'm really inspired by what you're doing, and love to get. That's part of the reason why I wanted you on the show, just to sort of at least get your vision and your ideas out there to the wider industry. And if people wanted to learn a little bit more about you or your company, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So we have a variety of different platforms. If you want to talk to us directly, go to our website, www.lē'ahi, Leahi, landscaping.com. You can fill out an About Us form or a contact form, and we'll reach right out. And again, Robert, thank you so much for having us here today. It's a privilege to be here and to be talking with somebody like yourself who's accomplished so much in this industry and, is an innovator and a leader in this realm. So thank you again so much for having us.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Thank you, Malu. Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant to you and you got some great takeaways for your business or your leadership role. This is Robert Clinkybeard, and I'd love to get you and your friends to join us in a future journey. So please subscribe to the various podcast channels or visit the commerciallandscaper.com or wilson360.com. Big thank you again to our partner Weathermatic, and I really encourage you to reach out to them and see about irrigation solutions or partnership with them. Hopefully have a pure dead brilliant day. Cheers, everyone.